Shalom, shalom, bear with me. All right. Give me 1 second. We should be live. Got to do it this way, man. Shalom, shalom. All right, Lord willing, my audio is nice and clear. So we'll just do it live like this. You know, I was catching hell with the StreamYard. All right, but we'll get to it like this. All right. So shalom. Before I get started with this live lesson, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And we're going to jump right into this article here. All right, this is another news and prophecy, Hegelian dialect in full effect. All right. And as you're going to see in this lesson, that everything is moving according to that exact plan. All right. But jumping right into this article here. This is from AmericasFirstReport.com. The headline, it reads, it says, riots beyond Los Angeles in New York City are getting ready to explode. All right. So there's a lot of major distractions going on with these nationwide riots and protests, which are set up to blind the people from the coming collapse of this economy in nuclear war, right? And we're going to get into that. Okay, order ab chaos, order out of chaos. It's all part of the plan, the Hegelian dialect, pressure from above and pressure from below, right? So let's grab this scripture here. This is the book. Matter of fact, we don't want to start there. Let's start at let's get that in 2nd Ezra 9. It's Salaki's a little loud. It's storming outside, so if you hear it, you know, my apologies. All right. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 9, and we'll start at 1. All right, this is 2nd Ezra 9 and verse 1, and it reads, it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. All right. So again, these signs, these things that are happening worldwide, all across America, these are all the signs that Yahweh Shai is close. All right. Verse 3, therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shall thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. All right. And this is all part of the signs, again, that we're seeing here. Right. So back in the read. OK, it says, excuse me. It says riots beyond Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York City are getting ready to explode. Right. So it says, will we soon see rioting in major cities all over America? The city on the West Coast that has the most people living in it illegally is Los Angeles. And we have already seen what happened there. The city on the East Coast with the most people living in it illegally is New York. And we have been witnessing quite a bit of civil unrest in the Big Apple this week. But I am even more concerned about the city of Chicago. It is one of the most lawless major cities in the industrialized world. According to Google AI, it is home to a very large number of migrants. All right. Let's read a little bit more. It says, needless to say, they are vastly outnumbered. When push comes to shove, President Trump is probably going to have to call in the National Guard, which they called in the National Guard. They called in the Marines. All right. They're militarizing the police force, everything, man, because really all this stuff that we're seeing is all funded. It's all scripted. It's all orchestrated, man, which gives these devils the excuse, to militarize the police. They're deputized Edomites, these militia groups, which pretty much is what ICE is. All right. But a lot of this protest, the stuff that they're showing on TV, it's all scripted. It's all funded. Right. It says who has been spending enormous amounts of money to equip the protesters in LA with brand new riot gear. Right. It says if the protests in Los Angeles are supposed to be peaceful, why is brand new riot gear being trucked in and given to the protesters? And why isn't this making front page news all over the country? Because they want to keep you distracted. It says, first of all, protesters only need riot gear if riots are going to break out. Secondly, it is becoming clear that someone purchased large quantities of riot gear in advance. So who funded those purchases and who knew that riots would erupt in Los Angeles at this specific time? If corporate news outlets in this country were still employing real journalists, those are the type of questions that journalists would be asking, right? So again, okay, as we're seeing here, it's all being funded and set up, right? And we're gonna make that point in a second here. It says Eric Dowdery has accurately pointed out Fox News actually captured footage of, quote, bionic shields that normally cost $60 each being handed out to rioters on the streets of Los Angeles. So again, it's all about getting the people to react, okay? Because civil wars are going to break out in these streets soon to come, right? Let me get this in Jeremiah real fast. All right, Jeremiah 51 and verse 45, right? This is Jeremiah 51 and 45. It says, my people, go you out of the midst of her and deliver every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Verse 46, it says, and unless your heart faint and you fear for the rumor that should be heard in the land, a rumor shall both come in 1 year, and after that, in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler, right? Now check this out. Like I said earlier, everything is moving according to this plan of the Hegelian dialect, right? Pressure from above and pressure from below. Lord willing, you can hear this, right? Let me turn this up. All right, here we go.
But what is the best way to sell big government and then world government to a people like ours, historically devoted to an independent republic of limited powers? The answer is simple. In revolutionary literature, the tactic is known as pressure from above and below. It's the strategy that Colonel House laid down in his book, Philip Drew, Administrator. Deliberately create problems, and then offer only those solutions that result in the expansion of government. Create conditions so frightful at home and abroad that the abandonment of personal liberties and national sovereignty will appear as a reasonable price for a return to domestic tranquility and world peace.
You see, and they're doing exactly that. All right. They're deliberately creating problems, right? As we see here, right? These different riots that are going to break out in major cities all across America, which is a lot of this shit is being funded. All right. And this is how they're using this to expand big government, as they said. All right. And within that, they'll be able to take away, your civil liberties, your rights in the name of peace and tranquility. All right. So, again, this shit is all set up. OK.
It's the strategy that Colonel House laid down in his book, Philip Drew, Administrator. deliberately create problems, and then offer only those solutions that result in the expansion of government. Create conditions so frightful at home and abroad that the abandonment of personal liberties and national sovereignty will appear as a reasonable price for a return to domestic tranquility and world peace. If those who seek world dominion can stimulate leftist mobs into violent confrontation with local law enforcement, and also provide exhaustive news coverage so that the entire nation can see and tremble.
Again, is that not happening now? You know, got the narrative set up. You know, they're setting up the clashes with the law enforcement, with the military. You see? It's all moving to this plan.
For a return to domestic tranquility and world peace. If those who seek world dominion can stimulate leftist mobs into violent confrontation with local law enforcement, and also provide exhaustive news coverage so that the entire nation can see and tremble, then the peaceful and freedom-loving majority can be programmed to accept a vast expansion of government powers and even a national police force, offered supposedly to end the violence. If those who seek world dominion can raise the specter of an enemy armed to the teeth with superior atomic weapons on the verge of launching a nuclear holocaust, and also offer world government as the prevention, then millions of Americans can be programmed to accept the loss of national sovereignty as our last best hope for peace. This is the meaning of pressure from above and below. To put over police state measures at home, they need chaos, crime, and anarchy in the streets. To sell the idea of world government, they need the constant threat of nuclear war. Or, as they say in revolutionary circles, the real action is in the reaction.
You see? So everything is moving according to this strategy, this plan. Okay? They need the chaos, they need the rebellion, they need the destruction in the streets in order to bring forth what? The martial law, to shut the cities down. Okay? To lock this place down. Right? Let's get into this video here. All right? This is from Redacted. America on fire, riots and chaos as Trump quadruples ICE raids. Mexico threatens invasion. All right? Let's listen to a little of this.
President Trump just announced he's quadrupling the amount of ICE raids across the United States, 4-timesing it, yes. He's going to on the offensive. Meanwhile, California's anti-law riots are no longer confined to just the Golden State. They're now spreading coast to coast. Chicago, Seattle, Atlanta, San Francisco, Denver, Portland, New York, Austin, Texas, and more. I'm sure I'm missing a few, because this has been happening over the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, a group called No Kings planning nationwide riots against the Trump administration on January 14th. I'm sure they'll say there'll be peaceful protests, nothing to see here. It's supposed to coincide with Flag Day, the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army, and a military parade in Washington, D.C., and President Trump's birthday. The NGOs are spread out all over the country. Look at the different areas where they've organized these different protests in the coming weeks. Look at that. So you think this is just like organic, just popping up? This is a stunning map when you look at it. Overnight, the head of Mexico's Senate, the narco cartel-run Mexican government, now says they will annex the southern part of the United States and return Mexico's border to the 1830s map of Mexico. You think this guy's joking? Watch.
Yo estuve en la Torre Trump cuando decía el presidente electo Donald Trump estaba 16 días de tomar protesta por primera vez como presidente, asumir el cargo. Y yo dije, si hacemos el muro, sí lo pagamos, pero lo hacemos con el mapa de México en 1830. Este es lo que era Estados Unidos en 1830. Y esto era parte de México, no era todo México. Si ustedes pueden ver, quizás un tercio mínimo una cuarta parte del territorio norteamericano era parte de México.
And now Mexicans are demanding that Americans give back the land. This is what Nick Frietas just posted on Twitter. He said, Mexicans are demanding that Americans give back the land we conquered from the Mexicans, who conquered it from the Spanish, who conquered it from the native tribes, who were constantly conquering each other. So Mexico wants their land back and
Also,
ready for an invasion.
Have you ever heard of the Mayans? They absolutely did not want to be a part of Mexico and were conquered. So that's rich.
Right.
That's, you get to say that.
At least we get to keep Louisiana, because that was before 1830, right? So we're good there,
I
right?
guess.
We still get to keep
Yeah, we got that in the
Louisiana.
Louisiana Purchase. Maybe the French, maybe Emmanuel Macron and his husband will want that back. So we'll see about that. Meanwhile, President Trump is removed. So if President Trump is removed from power somehow, these guys are ready to invade the United States. Journalist Ryan Mata just over the border in Mexico just yesterday. This video is from yesterday, not last year. Watch this.
Ryan Mata reporting live from Tapachula, Texas. When you hear people like Kristi Noem telling us that the border is closed, and you're taking a look at what I'm showing you guys right here, does this look like the Mexico border's closed? Does this look like the Mexican president is trying to slow down the flow of immigration? America, wake up. There is a tsunami of migrants just over our border, waiting to invade, waiting for President Trump to be removed from office, waiting for this regime change operation to take place so that they can install the next Rhino sleazebag sellout, who's going to open the floodgates, and the gates of hell are going to open upon our country. You should pray that President...
And that's the fear, right? That we get a Rhino in there, you know, like a Greg Abbott or other individuals who will keep these floodgates open to invade the United States. Colonel...
So then...
Yeah, so you see, again, this is the terror upon these Edomites, man. All right, and you Jakes, you Northern Kingdom specifically, are the target, all right? And they're ready to wage war, right? Let's go to 2 Ezra 15. In 14, it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." These Edomites are getting ready, man. Okay? That war is going to break out. That clash between Esau and the tribes is coming, man. Okay? The Northern Kingdom, you so-called Latino, Native Americans, Hispanics, are the primary target, man. Okay? It says, For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So as we saw the video dealing with the Hegelian dialect, okay, pressure from above and pressure from below, all right, they're going to use this, okay, to allow all hell to break loose. Okay? They need these riots. They need the protests. What did it say? They need a reaction. Okay? Once they get that reaction that they're looking for, then they're going to provide the solution, which is going to be what? Martial law, lockdown, man. Okay? It says, let's go back. 2 Ezra 15 and in 17, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." And how is that? Again, martial law. Okay? The militarization of the police force, man. The deployment of the military on the streets. Okay? Because like I said, right now, all right, you got you got these riots and whatnot. People are being shot with rubber bullets, but soon, hey, this thing can transpire to live rounds. All right, because remember, it's orchestrated. They got the agent provocateurs. It's all being funded. All right, Esau might unleash a fucking sleeper cell. All right, to shoot at a military agent or something to set it off. Okay, this is why you got to be circumspect. Hey, this thing is happening in all these major cities across America. All right. So when brothers go out this weekend, we got to be circumspect. We got to have our heads on a swivel, man, because anything can go down in the midst of these events. Okay, they need that reaction. It says, 2 Ezra 15. And 18, it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right. So it's all being constructed to go down in this manner. All right, which essentially is prophecy. Right. Let's play a little more.
So then the deportations we're seeing is like, you know, a hole in your boat that you're, shoveling out with a spoon. Isn't there an expression like that?
Yeah,
right?
the border is closed, right? The idea is the border is closed. And so now you're quadrupling the number of ICE raids. We're going to talk about more about that in a second. I guess it's like, yeah, they're trying to get your boat is sinking, but you're just trying to bucket out a little bit of water. Yeah. Colonel McGregor posted this a few minutes ago. Mr. President, it's time to invoke the Insurrection Act. So we want to ask J.J. Carroll, former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection. He's written an incredible book called Treason. I encourage all of you to go and buy it. It really lays out exactly how the Biden administration's strategic and malicious destruction of America's sovereignty unfolded. He walks through it point by point. He should know he was there serving the United States of America when all this happened. JJ, great to have you back on the show. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, man. If I was hired as the United States Border Patrol agent back in 1997 and I was stationed in San Diego, if I went off of that map, the senator from Mexico, I would have had a beautiful, beautiful home in Oregon, because that's where the Border Patrol would be. They would be jumping the border fence into Oregon or Oklahoma. It's absurd what's going on. But you're right. You alluded to this. This is bigger than just Mexican nationals waving their flags and irritating us. This is a coordinated attack, an intentional planned attack to destroy the sovereignty of America. It's spreading across America right now.
You see, it's all coordinated. It's all set up. Again, Hegelian dialect. All right. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay. They need the wars, the chaos, the things to break out in the streets. They need to get the military, the police involved. You know, that way they can forward their plans. Okay? It's all happening right under these people's nose.
We speak. Let's talk tactically. Okay. That's something you would do as a Customs and Border Patrol agent with your team, going out and trying to get these individuals. So I don't want to talk like pie in the sky stuff. If you were in charge of these groups, you're saying, President Trump's saying now we're going to go after 4 times the amount of ICE raids. We're doubling down on this. Colonel McGregor says, invoke the Insurrection Act right now. What would you be doing in your office with your team and coordinating with ICE to go out and try to stop what's happening right now in the United States? What would you be doing tactically?
The first thing I would have done is never did what they did 3 or 4 days ago, sending 30, 40, 50, 80 ICE agents into the belly of the beast of LA. I would never have done that with no backup. Whoever did that needs to be called on the carpet immediately. Colonel McGregor is absolutely right. Donald Trump, you need to go all in. There are no more half measures. Stop being half-ass about this. You sent in 7,000 National Guard. You need 17,000. You need 20,000. You want to double, quadruple? Well, then you need to assign military to your agents. So if I was in charge and I had a 50-man ICE unit under me, I would demand I need at least 100 to 200 National Guard or Marines assigned to my unit for coverage. You don't send me into these belly of the beast all by myself with no backup. Why would you do that? Because I'm sitting duck.
So you hear what he said? Hey, he's saying that Trump needs to go in. They need more enforcement, man. Again, this is that wrath, man. All right. Revelation 12 and 12. Let's get that. All right. Revelation 12 and 12. It says, therefore rejoice, you heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. All right. So when he's talking about that Trump needs to go in, who are they talking about? They're talking about going in on you Jakes. All right? For the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So again, these ICE agents, okay, these deputized Edomites, these militia groups, all right, they're coming down on everybody, right? Now, I just want to make a point. I'm not going to read this article, but it says the secret police descending on small town USA. It says masked immigration officials are storming towns and arresting people. This is going on everywhere, man. Okay? Like we told you, for years, you're getting ready to see the horns come out this devil's head, man. Okay? This is a time like no other. This is the time of Jacob's trouble, right? Here's another quick article here. It says the Department of Homeland Security sends out provocative new poster, right? And here's the poster right quick. Okay. It says, help your country and yourself report all foreign invaders. And then they got the hotline to call, man. So we're about to see people lose it. Let me get that too. Matthew 24. Okay. Man, Matthew 24 and verse 12, it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right. So there's going to be, you know, a lack of compassion out here, man. All right. They're giving people rewards and everything to call people in. So, hey, it's going to go next level, as I told you. Right. Let's just read real quick. It says the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, published a new poster online featuring World War II imagery, urging citizens to help locate and report immigrants who are in the country without documentation. So how do you think that's going to go, man? Okay. Quote, help your country and yourself, reads the poster, which shows Uncle Sam with a hammer nailing a flyer to the wall, reporting all foreign invaders, it says, providing a phone number to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. Okay, it says, let's jump down. It says the poster's language mirrors a sentiment coming from President Trump's and his aides in the White House in recent weeks, characterizing immigrants in the country illegally as foreign invaders. All right, so they're saying that, you know, you Northern Kingdom tribes, because that's been the target. All right, you're foreign invaders. Okay, you're enemies to the state, and blaming Democrats for allowing mass migration into the U.S. during former President Biden's time in office. Let's jump down. It says the poster's publication comes as ICE raids in Los Angeles and other cities around the country have increased as part of Trump's sweeping deportation plan and agenda that has sparked protests in locations nationwide, most acutely in portions of the California city. Trump ordered plans for the U.S. military to assist in his deportation efforts. As DHS officials say, threats against ICE agents and other federal law enforcement officers have ramped up in recent weeks. There you have it. All right, let's play a little bit more of this video. All right, and then we'll get to the other point as well. All right, but as you heard, this Edomite, he's calling for Trump to amp it up, to bring more enforcement, right?
Do we have the trained personnel to do that? You can't just take a green person off the street and say you're an ICE agent, obviously.
No, see, thank you for asking, because everyone's like, well, you know, the big, beautiful bill, they're going to go hire ICE agents. Hold on a second. You're not going, if the big, beautiful bill passes, you will not see a new ICE officer for 18 months to 2 years. That's how long. This is best case scenario, guys. Best case, to get one through the academy, hire process through the academy, train and get on the street. And then he's going to need about 3 years to even understand what the hell's going on. Our government put us in a position that we are vulnerable. I've said this on your show multiple times. We are the most vulnerable we've ever been in America. And that's a great question, Natalie, because the reality is this is all we have. So if this is all we have, people don't understand we have 50 million illegal aliens in America. You have less than 6,000 ICE officers. Let me repeat that. Less than 6,000 ICE officers. You need about 60,000 to get this job done. So then how are you going to do it? And Clayton, this is how you do it. You get the military. There's no other way. This is a do or die situation for America right now. You don't understand. The Democrats put a demographic time bomb in the middle of America, and it's already begun to explode. American women don't reproduce at the replacement level. 50 million illegal aliens are reproducing at least 5 times the natural average of reproduction in America. It's a bad math problem. So we're going to lose.
Strategically and tactically, because this is your specialty, when you look at the United States of America right now, I showed a map at the beginning here, I don't know if you saw it, showing how these NGOs have these coordinated protests across the United States. On top of that, we're also, here's that map again, we also know that ICE agents were tipping off. These groups they knew that these raids were coming, so they were being tipped off. So not only are they dealing with having to go and actually carry out the raid, they're also being undermined before they go. So strategically, tactically, you're in the Customs and Border Protection, you have these 100 ICE agents, or you have the US Marines, the National Guard. Like, what exactly are you doing to prevent people from tipping you off, moving in to certain areas? How exactly would you be carrying that out?
Right, so you can watch the rest of that, man. But either way, it's all going down, as we told you, right? The rioters are being supported, they're being funded, all right? And there's a bigger purpose to this thing, man. All right, they need the order out of chaos. Isaiah 19:2, it says, I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right, it's all beginning to go down. All right, it's just getting started. Right now, I want to make this point too, because I saw somebody in the comment put up that Israel attacked Iran's nuclear facilities. And that's kind of what I wanted to get to next, because as I said earlier, the whole purpose of all these things that are going on is to distract you from the coming collapse of this economy in the nuclear war that's about to go off, right? Let's make that point too. Okay? So as all of this is going on, the protests, the riots, in the major cities across America, this is what's happening behind the scenes here, right? It says Israel considering striking Iran in coming days, right? Without U.S. support. Okay, so that, right, based off the title alone, that proves that the least of the flock is going to draw them out. Okay, without America's approval or not, okay, these small hats are going to draw America into nuclear war. Okay, let's read a little bit. So it says, and this came out today, June 12th, 2025. It says Israel is considering taking military action against Iran, most likely without U.S. support. In the coming days, 5 sources told NBC Thursday. This comes shortly after a CBS report in which multiple sources stated that Israel has told U.S. officials that it is, quote, fully ready to launch an operation on Iran. Iran's military has begun drills earlier than planned to focus on, quote, enemy movements, state media reported later on Thursday afternoon. Okay. It says, let's grab this one too. Let's grab this article too. It's the same point. All right. Let's read this one here. This is from the New York Times. It says U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem braces for a possible Israeli strike on Iran. The diplomatic mission restricted the movement of employees and their families a day after the United States withdrew diplomats from Iraq. Right, and that's what's going on in the Middle East right now. They're withdrawing diplomats and things like that from that region because everybody knows that war is about to break out over there, right? So it says, reading on here, it says the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem restricted the movement of employees on Thursday as American diplomats and soldiers in the Middle East scrambled ahead of a possible Israeli attack on Iran. It says the embassy's directive to employees and their families reflected growing concern about potential Iranian retaliation if Israel were to strike. The restrictions bar travel outside the greater Tel Aviv area. Jerusalem and Beersheba were some exceptions, the embassy said on its website. On Wednesday, the United States withdrew diplomats from Iraq and authorized the voluntary departure of U.S. military family members from the Middle East. It says the New York Times reported that officials in the United States and in Europe said Israel seemed to be gearing up for an attack on Israel soon. Israel seemed to be gearing up for an attack on Iran soon, a move that could undermine the Trump administration's effort to strike a deal with the government in Tehran to curb its nuclear program, right? So again, as we told you, there is no peace that's coming, right? Jeremiah 49 in verse 20 says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that he have taken against Edom, and his purposes that he had proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them, right? So this is the time, man. Okay? They getting ready to do this thing, man. Right? Here's another point. Exclusive U.S. fears Iran's response to Israeli strike would be mass casualty event. Okay? The Lord is moving, man. All right? This is what they wanted. They wanted people to be caught up in this. Okay? But this is what really matters here. Okay? Right? Just want to read these few points and we'll wrap up this lesson. All right? But it says why it matters with Israel preparing to strike Iran quickly. If Witkoff's diplomacy fails this weekend, President Trump's envoy sounded the alarm about what would come next. Iran's retaliation could overwhelm Israel's defenses and cause heavy damage, he said. Iran has vowed to strike U.S. targets in the region in the event on an attack on its nuclear sites. The U.S. in its process of withdrawing diplomats and military families who could be in harm's way. Excuse me. It says Trump told reporters Thursday that he doesn't want to say an Israeli strike is imminent, but it might very well happen. See, the least of the flock should draw them out. Trump stressed he wants to avoid conflict, but said that will require concessions that Iran has been unwilling to make. Okay, it's all about war in the earth. All right, Joel, the 3rd chapter. Let's get that. Okay. Prophecy is being unloaded right now. All right. Joel 3 in verse 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Okay, there's no more diplomacy. There's no more, peace agreements. None of that, man. Okay, they're trying to keep you distracted from the war. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So that's the area that's hot right now. Okay, the so-called Middle East. Okay, this where it's all being amplified at. Okay, it says, Joel 3 and 13, it says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come down, come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, is near in the valley of decision. So we're telling you, all right, that day is near. This shit is about to pop. Okay? See, hey, we're the true, like I said before, we're the true news forecasters in the spirit, man. Okay? We're literally watching this thing, man. Okay? So these devils, they're not slick, man. You're not going to fool the hopeful elect, man. This thing is about to go down, man. Okay, so as this thing gets closer of Israel striking Iran, all right, they're going to cause something to turn up at these riots, man. Okay, something is going to happen. okay, that's going to take America by storm. You can feel it, man. Okay, Ecclesiastes is the third chapter. All right, it's a time of hate and war. You see? One more point. All right, because we've been tapping into this AI a lot here, but check this out. This is from Market Watch. It says, OpenAI, Sam Altman, we may have already passed the point where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence. So it's over, man. Right? And we ain't got to read it because we did a few lessons going into this, but you see, everything is headed to disaster, man. Man, what a time to be alive right now, man. Man, so this is heavy stuff. So that's pretty much it, man. That's the point. Salaki, I couldn't do this on the StreamYard. They said my free trial was up. I got to start paying more money for other shit. So we just have to do the live lesson like this, man. All right. But at the end of the day, Hegelian dialect is in full effect. Everything is moving according to this plan, man. You know? So I pray that this quick lesson was edifying. Hey, call Halayim La Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. We'll close it out. Hey, Shalom. Shalom.